Welcome to Check It Out, using accessibility checkers in Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and PDFs. My name is Valdis Bean, and I'll be taking you through this training today. To give you an overview of what we'll be discussing in this training, we'll start off with using the accessibility checker in Word documents and PowerPoints, and then we'll move to PDFs. Let's start with using the Microsoft Word accessibility checker. Here's an example document. To access the built-in accessibility checker, we can go to the Review tab, then hit Check Accessibility, and the Accessibility Assistant will pop up. As you can see, it's already identified some issues within our document. Let's go ahead and address some of these issues. The first one is hard to read text contrast. If we click on it, it'll identify what text it's identified as having an issue, and then it'll offer us some colors to resolve. I'll go ahead and choose this one, and it'll reflect back on the document. Then it'll take us back to the Accessibility Assistant, and you can see that now the hard-to-read text contrast issue has been resolved. The second one is missing alt text. If we click on it, it'll again identify where the issue is on our document and gives us the opportunity to write in alt text or an image description. The other option is to mark as decorative. As this image is decorative on our page, I'll go ahead and click that. As you can see here, that issue has now been resolved. Moving on to tables, it's identified that we're missing our table header. It gives us options as use first row as header or mark as layout table. We do not recommend that you use tables to layout, so we never recommend that you choose this. In this case, our first row would be our header, so we can use that. As you can see here, that issue has now been resolved. The other issue it's identified is a use of merged or split cells in that same table. In this case, we would recommend you reformat your table in order to split the cells so that it will be accessible once again. Look at that, we've made our table accessible. Something important to note about these accessibility checkers is that they don't catch all accessibility issues. For example, this one shows that there are no headings in the document, but doesn't necessarily show that it's an issue. We want to make sure that we're adding heading structure to our documents for the sake of accessibility. But sometimes we have to keep in mind that these checkers aren't perfect and won't catch everything. So we need to make sure that we are informed about accessibility standards so that we can make documents accessible. Here's an example PowerPoint that's inaccessible. To open our accessibility checker, we go to Review, Check Accessibility, and the Accessibility Assistant will pop up. As you can see, it's identified some issues within our document already. Let's go ahead and fix some of those issues. Like before, it's identified that we're missing some alt text. If I click on that issue, it'll bring us to both the slide and the image that's missing alt text. I can either add a description or mark as decorative like before. Going back to the Accessibility Assistant, it looks like it's also identified a table that's missing a header. We can insert a header row or use the first row as a header. Either way, it might change the format of your table, and that's easy to fix with table design, so we'll move on. It looks like we also have a table that has merged or split cells. Now there's no immediate fix that we can do, but we can reformat this table to then become accessible, like these are. It looks like we have a slide that's missing a slide title. Slide titles provide the structure for PowerPoints as a document, so these are important to have. But if you don't want the slide to have a title visible, you can add a hidden title, or if you don't mind a visible title, you can add one there as well. It looks like we also need to check the reading order. The reading order of a slide is how a screen reader would tab through the slide, so it's important that they're in the right order. In this case, our title should come before our table, and when we go back, you'll notice that our reading order has been cleared. It'll identify some other issues, and sometimes it'll offer an immediate solution, and sometimes it requires us to be a little more involved, and that's okay. If we went through and we fixed all these issues, our document will come out way more accessible than before. If we want to take a look at the issues the accessibility checker has identified, we can open up each of these tabs. The X's are issues that have been identified, and the question marks are things that need to be manually checked. I see here some issues that are easy to fix. The first one is primary language, where we can right-click and then hit Fix. This document is in English, so I'll just hit OK. For title, you can right-click, hit Fix, uncheck the Leave As Is, and then type in your title here. If we were to hit OK, that would resolve the issue. The main issue here is the tagged PDF failed issue. Tags serve as a PDF structure. The tags as the structure tells a screen reader how to read a document to the student using the screen reader. And without tags, there is no guidance for the screen reader on what content to read, and the tags that are wrong can feed information out of order to the user. So tags need to be both there and correct for the document to be accessible. Many of the other issues identified under page content, tables, lists, and headings get fixed with proper tagging. If we were to tag this document, those issues would slowly get resolved, and they're showing now because there are no tags. And with that, you know how to use the accessibility checkers in Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and PDFs. My name is Valdez Bean, and thank you for joining me today.